Hey, good morning. I just got done sitting outside here reading the Word out loud in my own morning um, prayer Bible devotion. Um, Such a beautiful thing, and I guess I'm just so surprised by the unique or significant difference that I'm feeling since having done this. Of course, or a lot of you know, that we've read the Bible out loud as a church collectively, 72 hours straight from Thursday noon of last week till Sunday noon, or Sunday actually 11:30 a.m. This past Sunday, and it was such a blessing and so incredible. But one of the things that I discovered, and I just wanted to share this one thought. I'm trying to figure out a way to implement this into my everyday, and it's a little bit complicated because I'm just not used to doing that. But here's the difference. Here's one. This is just one practical reason to do this. Now, this may not be you. This is certainly me and my own weakness. But I tend to. I'm a voracious reader. I read all the time. Probably 50, 60, at least 50, 60 books every year. Not counting those 66 books of the Bible that I read at the beginning of every year. I don't read any books at all until I've read the entire Bible cover to cover. But once I've done that, then I start reading. So I'm reading a couple of books, generally a couple of books every week. Um, but as I'm reading, I've always had this difficulty, whether reading visually or listening to a book audibly. My mind tends to wander. And some people say, "Oh, I can't listen audibly. I can't listen to books audibly because my mind wanders." Well, the thing is, most of us, a lot of us, I find, our minds wander while we're reading. Um, Visually, when we read visually, our minds wander. One of the things I discovered, and this is so funny. So as we were doing the 72 hours of reading, I had to read, because we committed to not just to read it, but to stream it live, just so that we're publicly reading, even if there's nobody else in the sanctuary at 2 o'clock in the morning while we're reading, we're still reading publicly. So I felt like I really felt like that's what the Lord wanted us to do. I don't think that's necessary. That's certainly a mandate. And I don't believe any of this is a heaven or hell issue. I just think it's really, really beneficial. And here's why. I think I said this yesterday. A.W. Tozer wrote that literacy is a rather common phenomenon. The Bible has always been read out loud. Um, However, in the last 100, 200 years, education has spiked so much that now almost everybody can read. And so we just sit down and read it quietly, which is great, but it's not the only, it should not, I'm really starting to think it should not be the only way that you read. So because I was having to reset the stream, YouTube will only allow you, thank you YouTube, will only allow you to stream at 8-hour intervals. So every so often, every several hours, I had to go up and reboot a stream. And at one point, I was reading to make up some time. So I was streaming on Facebook in my office while others were streaming on YouTube in the sanctuary as was previously scheduled. But I was reading, and I was reading I wasn't just reading out loud. I was reading at a pretty good clip. And while I was reading, it occurred to me, oh, I don't remember when I set that last stream, and do I have to go do that right now? And this is just a little, and of course, I know some of you are much, much sharper than you, and you probably would have been able to do this, but my little brain, I could not calculate when I had started and whether it had been 6.5 hours of streaming, which is what I was trying to do. Was I was trying to every 6.5 hours reset the stream, and I could not calculate whether or not it was time for me to go in and reset that stream. I had to stop reading out loud in order to give my brain pause to calculate, which is just a simple little calculation. I had set it at 2 a.m. and now it was 5:30 a.m. I actually had plenty time. I just couldn't calculate that while I was reading out loud. So two things occurred to me there. When you're reading and you're having to look at the next word to speak, if you're reading something that this is probably not going to work, but when you're reading something that you don't quite know what the next word is going to be, well, your brain is looking at that, and so you're so entirely focused that your mind cannot wander or stray. And so this brings the value of reading out loud to exponential heights, because you're just so focused, and your focus is so entirely on what you're reading. Now, whether that be Shakespeare or some poetry or a fictional book, whatever, if you're reading it out loud, you're having to focus on it because you're having to speak it in order to continue. And so to to manage all the operation that goes into speaking out loud and reading out loud, you're totally focused, which I absolutely love. And then biblically, the word says, faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. When I am reading it, when I'm reading it visually, I am reading, and that's a great blessed thing. But when I'm reading it and I am also hearing what I am saying, faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So I'm reading the word, and I'm also hearing the word. At the same time I'm reading it and seeing it visually, I'm also hearing it audibly because I am seeing and hearing. This is an incredible, this might be very elementary to you, but me, just a consummate studier and learner of the word, and so hungry to just grow in faith and grow in my personal relationship with God. This just seemed so just explosively or exponentially great. So I am loving this, and I'm trying to incorporate this into my everyday. I'm not going to bother you with this every day. I realized I was telling somebody else about this last night, and then I got a real nice word of encouragement from a friend of ours. I had a pastor friend of mine from down south send me a note thanking me for what we had done as a church. And then this morning, a friend of mine from a little west of here sent me a note thanking me. Mary Beth Nyquist, actually, sent me a note thanking me for what we had done and how she was trying to implement reading out loud into her devotion as well. So I'm so encouraged by that, of course, and so thankful for people with this incredible gift of encouragement. And yes, and we do feel very encouraged. But I feel like reading out loud is honing in my focus on the word. And I feel like reading out loud is I'm reading the word, and faith grows by hearing the word. And so I feel like my faith is growing, and I've just felt so incredibly blessed for what we've done. Just wanted to share that with you. And I would just encourage you to try it a little bit and try to work a little bit of this in. I'm actually trying to figure out a way to do this and take a few moments early in the morning and sometime in the afternoon and before I go to bed at night. I just want to try to encourage in my own heart the reading of the word out loud and see what this will do. And so maybe we'll check back in a few weeks, and I'll tell you whether or not I've been able to do that or sustain that, or and hopefully be able to testify a little bit of the tremendous benefit that has been to me, and maybe that'll encourage you a little bit. So God bless you. Hope you have a great day, and hope that reading the word out loud proves to be advantageous and a great encouragement and blessing in your life. Thanks. God bless you. Have a great Wednesday. And for all of you from Elam, I hope to see you this evening at church, and hopefully got this posted so we won't have to talk about that again this evening at service. I feel like God has given me a word for tonight, so we're looking forward to that. So God bless you. Have a great day.